Good afternoon, very warm welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show and our look at all things World Cup 2026. I'm Chris Bell. Alongside me is Gareth Walker. Delighted to have you with me, mate. How are you doing? You well?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Thank you. Good to see you at the weekend.
Yes. We had a bit of a West Yorkshire Football Show get together around at Jay's house for the England game. And look, whilst the match itself wasn't the best, a good evening of basically reliving our youth playing FIFA and having a little FIFA tournament was very good, even if the England match didn't live up to full expectations. But we will come to that in due course. Don't forget, get your thoughts and views in on the 2026 World Cup. Let us know your thoughts on all the games taking place. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. That way you'll get a notification whenever we go live here on the channel, whether that's with Leeds United content, with Huddersfield Town content, Bradford City content, or anything else we do on the channel. Let's start then, I guess, if I just switch us over there by looking back at kind of the games from the weekend. And Friday feels a very, very long time ago right now. I'm trying to think what happened when we were tucked up in bed. I think it was the Group D games between Paraguay, Australia, and Turkey, United States that were the last ones.
Yeah, the first ones was the Japan, Sweden, and Tunisia, Netherlands. They were the first ones in the early hours of the morning, mate.
Yeah, and then yes, that's right. Because the Norway France game, I think, was the tea time or the 8 o'clock-ish game or whatever. Because it was a decent game. No major shocks in the end, really, going into these final kind of group stage games. I think we'll see as we go, as we touch on over the course of the weekend. Obviously, big wins for France and Iraq, an unexpected Netherlands win over Tunisia, and the big one really was Japan and Sweden. It was to see who will be second and third in Group F in particular, and we kind of expected the draw to be the outcome what we get.
Yeah, as expected, really. I mean, Sweden had obviously had our first two games where they'd won 5-1 and then lost 5-1, so we didn't really know what to expect. Japan them in the first game, but they'd improved in the second game against Tunisia. Against Holland, I thought they'd give them more of a game. So we saw Japan beat England in the friendly not so long back. But yeah, as you'd expected, they played out the draw, which meant that Japan finished second in the group, Sweden finished third. I think Sweden were actually top of the third place table for a while, until possibly the Congo result later on. But ended up finishing second or possibly third in that third place table. So yeah, Japan, Netherlands and Sweden have all gone through and Tunisia have gone home, Chris.
Yeah, not a surprise there. We'll quickly rattle through into Saturday's games. Again, it was in this case, it was the bottom group L that were the tea time kickoff on Saturday. I think it was the Group H games that might have been the ones that were actually the early hours of Saturday morning. So we'll kind of glance over them, really. The focus, I guess, Group L for us, Croatia beating Ghana and Panama, obviously. England getting the win over Panama. And I'd say, look, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't a spectacular win. But ultimately, for England, it was a job done.
Yeah, it's probably good that it's me and you on here, Chris, to talk about England, because you tend to try to be positive, and you know what I'm like. I'm an old grumpy misery guts. But yeah, it was better. I thought the England game was better than the Ghana one. We did better against Panama than we did against Ghana. I'll give them that. But we still were a bit lethargic, a bit slow. We're struggling against the low block. Obviously, the difference was that we got the goals this time, which obviously makes a world of difference. There was a little bit of nervousness when Croatia went in front, thinking we might end up second in the group. But got the job done, really. Ghana got the equaliser and Croatia scored another one late on, didn't they, to win the game 2-1. So we've gone through as group winners. Croatia have gone through in second and Ghana have gone through in third, I believe.
Yeah, and for England, 2 goals in quick succession as well from Bellingham and Kane, 2 goals in a space of 5 minutes that, as you say, kind of took us from a slightly concerned state of are we going to end up finishing second and end up with a different run and a potentially harder run. But in the end, the goals from Bellingham and Kane, 2 decent goals, to be fair, got the job done and got us over the line.
Yeah, and 2 crosses into the box, Chris, which is what we've been saying we needed. Beat the low block. We all talk about it. I was ranting and raving after the Ghana game that whatever level of football you play at, if you're going to want to beat a low block, you've got to move the ball quickly and get it wide and go down the outside. Everybody knows that. I didn't think we did it enough against Ghana. Probably still didn't do it enough against Panama, but did more of it, and that's where the 2 goals came from. Like you say, quick succession. I think Bellingham was probably our best player again. I think that's probably say that for 2.5 of the games that we've played so far. I think he's been our best player. Obviously got the goal. He does well to sort of bend his foot around the defender and score from the corner. And then Harry Kane, textbook header back across the keeper where it had come from. Keeper ends up going the wrong way because he's diving across the goal. And I think it was game over from that point. I mean, Panama did score a great goal, a great finish on the break. Obviously, it was offside, but it was a really good finish, actually. That could have made it a little bit nervy, but clearly offside, and we got the job done, like you say, mate, with 2 goals in quick succession.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move then into Sunday. Again, these were the games that took place early hours of Sunday morning, actually, after the England-Croatia, the Group L games with England and Panama being the 10 o'clock kickoffs. I got back just in time to catch quite a lot of the Colombia-Portugal game in Group K. Absolute belter of a game to say it finished 0-0. One of the best 0-0s that you probably like to see, certainly in a major tournament. It really was a good end-to-end game. Chances are plenty at both ends.
Yeah, I have to bow to your superior judgment of that, Chris, because you watched that one and I watched most of the Congo-Uzbekistan one, and I know that how you've described it there and how everyone's described it, I think it was described as one of the best 0-0s possibly of all time, certainly in recent memory. Colombia, I've not seen a lot of them, but I've read about them and watched the highlights. Apparently, they've been really impressive so far. And were they the better team, Chris? Was it the Portugal keeper that sort of kept it at 0-0?
Yeah, Diego Costa, the Portuguese keeper, really did keep them in that. He was absolutely terrific. Colombia looked really good in the attack. They had like 26 shots in the end, and a good amount of those were kind of buns up troubled. So yeah, all in all, Colombia I thought looked really, really good, and we thought they'd do quite well this time. It'd be interesting to see how they progress through the knockout stages for sure. Obviously, as you say, you kind of watched most of the Congo-Uzbekistan game. That Uzbekistan goal, we need a word on that. An absolute beauty of a move, finished by Shomodarov.
Shomodarov. I was just trying to work out how I was going to try and pronounce his name, but yeah, it's a great goal. Obviously, it's Fabio Cannavaro, isn't it? Their manager.
It is.
And he got them. Yeah, I mean, they scored. Nobody expected them to take the lead. Obviously, England knew that if Congo won, we would play them. If they didn't, we were going to be playing Senegal. I was kind of hoping that Congo would win the game, which is probably going to come back and bite me later on. But it's a great goal. Great, like you say, great move. Finished off really well by Shomorodov. Like I say, a bit of a shock that they took the lead. Congo then, as the game went on, were getting a little bit desperate. They didn't equalise until the 68th minute with the lad Johan Wisser, who's obviously ex-Brentford now at Newcastle. Had a tough season at Newcastle with injuries, but he got the equaliser. And then the second goal, I don't know if you've seen it, it's a great little bit of anticipation, really, from Fiston Mayele, I think he's called. It's a shot from the edge of the box. The keeper sort of palms it out, and he's really, really quick to react. He's followed it in. And because when the shot's been hit, he's on the last line of the defender, the last defensive line. There's a really serious VAR check, but he is onside. Nobody else reacts, and he sort of sticks his leg out and flicks it past the keeper, the rebound. Really, really good anticipation. That gave them the lead with about 12 minutes to go. And then Wisser again, it's a shot from the edge of the box. He cuts inside from the left, sort of nudges it out of his feet and past the defender and bends it into the far corner. And that sort of sealed it for them in the 91st minute. So they probably deserved to win. But like you say, the Uzbekistan got that really good first goal that you've got to give them credit for. But Congo pushed and got the job done in the end. And that's who we'll play in the round of 32.
Yeah, it's starting to hot up now. Jed joins us. It's his evening, guys. Again, Jed, crikey knows where he is this time around. I guess he's somewhere in the Far East. He's usually out in Vietnam. I think it was Vietnam last week. He was over, and he says, "Evening, guys. The World Cup starts now. Colombia, easy on the eye, and look genuine improvers. They do look really, really good, and they do play it really, really well." Let's come to then yesterday, and obviously the first of those round of 32. In fact, before I come to that, we will look at the full round of 32 schedule. So these are the fixtures in full, which I think takes us for us this week right through until I think the last game is 2:30 Saturday morning. Obviously, we saw South Africa and Canada last night, which we'll come on to. But all week, there are some really, really mouth-watering ties. Today, which I know we'll go on to, in particular, Brazil-Japan for us at 6 o'clock, Germany-Paraguay at 9:30. Massive shame that Netherlands-Morocco is at 2 a.m. However, if there was going to be a game that you look at and think, oh, it might be worth staying up till 2 a.m. to start, or to watch the start of it at the very least, it could be that one.
Yeah, we were just saying before we went live, Chris, weren't we, that that's one we'd both really like to watch, and we're both quite annoyed it's on at 2. I mean, even if it was on at 12 o'clock at midnight, you'd be more likely to stay
get
up
through
and watch
that.
it. Yeah, you would. You finish by 2. It's not so bad. But yeah, Netherlands, I didn't think they were great in the first game. Obviously, battered Sweden in the second game, and then got the job done in the third game to finish top of the group. Morocco, been mightily impressed with them so far. A few people's dark horses, as we've said before. I think they're just possibly lacking a striker, although the lad that's gone to Bayern has scored a couple of goals for them so far. Sarabia, maybe? Is that what he's called?
Yeah.
Well, that looks like it could be a really good game. Just a shame it's on at 2. Even the, I know we'll mention the other games later, but even Ivory Coast, Norway, which is the next day, looks like a good one, doesn't it, mate?
Looks a cracker, doesn't it? Yeah, 6 o'clock tomorrow for us, that one. Ivory Coast, Norway looks a belter. Again, you go a little bit further down. I think Portugal, Croatia could be quite an interesting game as well, from what we've seen in both of those sides in so far. I think Colombia, Ghana, the final game in the round of 32. Well, on Saturday morning looks like it could be going. It'll be interesting to see what Colombia can do if Ghana sit in defensively, as they did against England, for example. Obviously, at this stage, because there is this extra round, there's 1 or 2 opportunities for perhaps sides that wouldn't make that round of 16 normally to do just that. And you look at, obviously, Australia, Egypt possibly being one of them. The fact that Algeria is still in there. Let's be honest, the fact that DR Congo are in there with a chance of making it if they were to beat England. There's some very interesting looking ties. Let's start, though, at the top and look at the game that played out yesterday. It's fair to say it wasn't a classic, but I do think, and I don't want to be the bearer of potential bad news, but I wouldn't be surprised to see some of these round of 32 games not be as good as the fixture looks on paper, simply because it's knockout football now. Nobody wants to be the man to make that mistake and cost their nation progression in the World Cup, do they? Nobody wants to make a mistake. And I do wonder if that is going to come to the fore of a lot of sides' minds at this stage. There'll be the exceptions, of course, but you do wonder whether some of some sides will take it a little bit more carefully. And that seemed to be how this particular game yesterday kind of played out, really. South Africa, Canada, a little quite tentative for the most part until Canada really started to kind of turn things on a little bit in the latter stages.
Yeah, we were talking again before we went live, weren't we? Because everyone's been moaning about what a poor game that was, or it was really dull. And as you say, Chris, we might see more of that in the knockouts as the jeopardy rises and people, like you say, are worried about making a mistake. And perhaps that was what was happening in that game. But you and I both ironically turned it on towards the end and saw Canada having a bit of a go and getting the goal. I mean, it's not a bad goal, actually. It's a decent strike from
It's a good strike.
Yeah, really good strike. And the thing is that at that point in the game, when you score in the 92nd minute, and when you've been kind of defending and trying to see the game out, especially, it's really difficult to come back and do anything in the last 5 or 6 minutes, which is what happened to South Africa. I've seen a few people mentioning why was that game played, why were Canada as a host nation playing in LA? Well, that's because they finished second in the group, I believe. If they'd won their group, then they would have stayed in Canada. But because they lose their last group game, I think. And
they lost to Switzerland in the last group game to finish second to the Swiss.
Yeah, so they've had to go to LA to play the round of 32 game. But yeah, maybe people that saw the goal and didn't have to sit through extra time, as the ITV pundits were worrying about what they were going to have to watch and that they might fall asleep. Maybe they've got us to thank, Chris, because we both turned it on and saw the winner.
Yeah, I mean, look, Jay and Lou in particular in our group chat were saying what a dire, poor game it had been. And I thought, just come down from sorting the little one out and came downstairs, sat down in some of it. Literally about 85th minute, I think I saw, and I was like, what are they on about? Canada having a really good go here, and then obviously got the winning goal, and I turned it on just at the right time by all accounts. So yeah, look, Canada obviously in this competition as a host nation, they will play the winners of the Netherlands or Morocco. And again, we've said what an interesting game that could be at 2 a.m. tomorrow morning. But obviously for Canada, either way, whether it's the Netherlands or Morocco, again, that looks like it sets up a good game to a good potential first tie confirmed in the round of 16.
Yeah, it'll be a tough, won't it, for Canada? But are they back? I don't know if they go back to Canada. It's in Houston. Is that game? So they're still in America. So they don't get to go back to Canada. So they do lose the home advantage, which I think's been a big thing for them so far. We saw in the first couple of games the crowd getting really behind Canada. It'd be tough for them, won't it, Netherlands or Morocco? But they've been quietly, apart from that game that they lost to Switzerland, they've been quietly impressive. And like you're saying,
they look good.
Yeah, and in towards the end of the game yesterday, they were the ones who were trying to win it. They were the ones having a real go. I mean, they've obviously got Jesse Marsh, who Leeds fans don't like, but me and you have had our discussion about how we don't possibly think he's as bad as some people make out. He obviously tweaked it and had them having a go towards the end. And you never know, do you? It's always good to see the host nations go a bit further, albeit that they'll be playing in Houston. But I do think Netherlands or Morocco could possibly be a step too far for them, mate.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see. Just to, having a quick glance, just, again, you don't want to get too far ahead of yourself, but the round of 16 it could be very interesting. So, for example, the winner of Germany-Paraguay will end up playing the winner of France versus Sweden. So, to potentially end up with Germany versus France as a round of 16 game could be impressive. Jed, though, on South Africa for a moment, how did South Africa even get to this point but nearly won it? We said last week, I think, when me and Jay were on, and Jed had commented about how South Africa, before that final group game, just looked like a rabble. They just weren't in any way, shape, or form an organised international football team. And yet, obviously, they got that result on the final group game to get them to this point. So, yeah, and look, they did have chances. They could have won it in 90 minutes from what I've been told, but obviously kind of getting the job done. Let's just go back then and kind of finish up, really. Actually, let's go for that third place table because, look, we haven't got into the details and I haven't been bothered to Google it. But we were curious about how the fact that we were supposed to play either Senegal or Congo when they have finished at complete opposite ends of the third place table from an England perspective.
Yeah. You and I could not work out how well. We've not looked, have we? Because we're frightened of frying our brains. But it's not just the fact that Senegal finished 8th and Congo finished 1st, and we were going to have to play one of those two. It's also the fact that we knew we were going to play Congo before they scored that third goal. Now, that third goal moved them above Sweden in the table to the top on goal difference because obviously they scored the last minute. But we were going to play if Congo won, we were playing them regardless. So regardless of whether they finished first or second, if they won, we were playing. I really don't know how this has been worked out. And I'm frightened.
It must have been specific groups. It must have been from the group that obviously Congo were in. That it was either Senegal or Congo, whichever group they were in. It's certainly going to be interesting. Obviously, I mean, the most surprising thing when you look at that third place ranking, no, not Scotland being out, but Uruguay being bottom of the third place table, 2 points from their 3 games. And look, I know there's been a hell of a mutiny in camp, and it seems that way from before the World Cup started. A lot of players not happy with Marcelo Bielsa in terms of the way that they play the game and the way that he wants them to play. But that mutiny in camp has certainly transpired to give Uruguay what I would class as a very underwhelming and basically very disappointing underachieving tournament.
Yeah, you always expect them to possibly not. Well, people don't really tip them to win it, but people normally expect them to go quarterfinals, don't they? You expect them to go deepish in the tournament. They've got some good players. Obviously, we've talked about Valverde regularly. They've got Darwin Núñez up front, who's obviously he can be hit and miss, but he can be a real threat because you don't know what he's going to do next. But it just didn't seem to work for them. We were all looking forward to the Uruguay-Spain game. In the end, I didn't watch it, to be honest with you. It was on at 1 o'clock in the morning and I didn't watch it, but they needed to get something out of that to go through and didn't do it. There sounds like that, like you say, mate, there's been problems in the camp. Bielsa did an interview afterwards where he wasn't happy at all, didn't look comfortable in his interview, was quite angry, to be honest with you. I saw that, and and it's been a bit of a disaster for them, and they've gone home, and I think Bielsa's left, hasn't he? He's leaving the role, and they're after a new manager now, which isn't surprising, really, given the disappointment that they've had in the tournament.
No, not at all. Let's focus then on these 3 games for us tonight. UK time, 6 o'clock, Brazil, Japan. 9:30, Germany versus Paraguay, and 2 a.m. the Netherlands versus Morocco. Let's start with that 6 o'clock game, Brazil, Japan. I saw the word frothing from Jay earlier on. He is extremely excited for this one, as I think a lot of us are. This could be a really good game between these two sides, because Japan have been slowly going about their business well. They've obviously they put 4 past Tunisia, which on the face of it wasn't the most difficult of tasks to do so. But where do you see this one going? How do you see this game going? Are we going to go extra time and penalties? Are we going to see Brazil turn it on and cruise past Japan? Or are we going to see the Japanese turn up, put in a performance in, and see off the Brazilians?
It's an intriguing one, isn't it? It really is, because
really
Brazil,
hard one to call, I think.
It is. Brazil, obviously, storied side, but as we've talked about, possibly not at the level that of Brazil sides of the past. The midfield for Brazil is a problem. I think there's a lack of legs in there. Japan players, we know, will run and run and run all day. Japan play on the counter-attack. They're set up to play on the counter-attack. We know that as well. And Japan have slowly improved as the tournament's gone on, as have Brazil, to be fair. I thought they looked pretty ordinary in the first game, and then have got better as it's gone on. I think taking the lad Thiago out and putting Cunha in up front has helped them. But it's just how they play, because we know Carlo Ancelotti likes his teams to be solid at the back and perhaps play a little bit of counter himself, and that is how Japan play. So it'll be interesting to see how it pans out, that game. And it is a tough one to call. Like you say, Brazil possibly a favourite, Japan possibly a dark horse, and it's one I'm really looking forward to. The worry is, because of how the two teams could line up and could structure the tactics, that they kind of cancel each other out. I hope they don't. But I'm looking forward to watching it. Yeah, I think most people are. 6 o'clock, that one, isn't it? So it's a good time for us all to sit down and watch.
Yeah, the tea-time game for us. It's going to be, I think, a fascinating game. Germany-Paraguay. The next one at 9:30 kickoff on BBC One. Easy, perhaps. A little bit too easy to sit here and say, well, that's got Germany win written all over it. Could Paraguay spring a shock? Yeah,
now, as you said, I think Germany have been good. Obviously, they lost the last group game, but they heavily rotated, didn't they, for that? Which saw, I can't remember who they were playing, but whoever it was, Ecuador, that's it. Ecuador needed to win, didn't they, to have any chance?
Yeah.
And because they won, they finished third and went through. Now, Germany rotated a lot. Now, Paraguay, I don't know much about Paraguay. I think they finished third, didn't they, in their group, which is why they've gone through to play Germany. The Germans,
let me consult the third place table. They did. They finished 7th in the third place table, yes.
I always think, and it's the same old story you say before every tournament, and whatever generation you are, your dad tells you, whoever got you, never rule out the Germans. And it is the case, and they've been quietly impressive, possibly one of the better sides, particularly in those first 2 games that they played. Like I said, they heavily rotated against Ecuador. But even when I watched that game, and even when Ecuador took the lead, Germany, even though they didn't really need anything from the game to finish top of the group, were proper battering them towards the end, I thought, and were having quite a few chances. So the Germans are a threat, and I expect them to go deep. I don't expect a shock. I don't expect Paraguay to win. You can clip that when they do. Germany to win that game and go through. But like you say, it makes if that does happen, and as we expect France to beat Sweden, you mentioned it earlier, it could be Germany-France in the round of 16.
Yeah, that would be that could be a very good game if we get there. At the same time, with a large part of them absolutely would love to see Paraguay versus Sweden in the round of 16 instead, because that would mean they'd take out France and Germany. And then finally, the 2 a.m. game for us, as we touched on the timing, but the actual game itself could be and should be an absolute corker. Two sides that like to go for it, like to attack, and don't really know the meaning of sitting in and holding out for a draw or holding out for penalties.
No, again, Ivory Coast been quietly impressive. Got some really good players. Obviously, we talked about Diamande. He's believed to be going to PSG.
Morocco.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Ivory Coast and Norway.
No,
about Netherlands,
Morocco for us at 2 a.m.
Oh yeah, sorry, mate. My faux pas. Netherlands poor in the first game, improved as it went on. Gakpo scored a couple of goals for them, which is a bloody miracle because he's been terrible last season for Liverpool. Morocco, quietly impressive on the slow, as we talked about at the start. Possibly lacking a striker. I think that's going to be a really, really good game, and it's just a bloody pain that it is at 2:00 in the morning. Yeah, I think Morocco could shock Holland, but I'm not one for predictions, so don't clip me. But I have a feeling in that game, it depends what Netherlands turn up. If the Netherlands from the first game against Japan turn up, Morocco will cause them problems. But if Netherlands that played in the second and third games turn up, I think the Netherlands could get through. It's a really, really tough one to call, and I really don't know, mate. The winner of that will play the South Africa-Canada. The winners are obviously Canada, who beat South Africa. So you would imagine, like I say, I think Netherlands or Morocco would beat Canada. So whoever wins this game, I expect to be in the quarterfinals.
Interesting. I'm hoping. I've always loved the Dutch. Always loved the Dutch. Apart from that Ronald Koeman incident that got Graham Taylor the boot. Back in the early 90s. Aside from that, the Dutch, as they've always had a soft spot for the Dutch, so I hope that it's the Dutch that progress, and I would like to see them do well. It always baffles me that they've made 3 finals, the Netherlands, without winning the competition.
Yeah. A bit like England, that obviously, we've only won one major tournament back in '66. They won the Euros in '88. But with all the players they've had, mate, like you say, the total football thing, they tend to play good football. I'm not so sure that they play that way now under Koeman, but they've had the talent that they've had down the years to only have ever won 1 Euros is a real shock, and you'd expect them to have done more, really.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll leave it there then. We will be back tomorrow at some point with a reflection on Brazil, Japan, Germany, Paraguay, and the Netherlands versus Morocco. We'll be looking ahead to the Ivory Coast versus Norway, France versus Sweden, and Mexico versus Ecuador. 3, I'll be honest, 3 equally good-looking games for tomorrow night than we've got tonight, to be honest. We've been spoiled in these opening stages this week of the round of 32. Thank you to all those that have joined us here on the West Yorkshire Football Show. Thank you for getting your comments in as well. Don't forget, if you've joined us midway through, you can catch us from the start. The full program is available on the YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. We are on Facebook and X. Just search for the West Yorkshire Football Show. From myself, though, and from Gaz, we'll be back tomorrow afternoon, more than likely, when we'll be looking ahead and looking back at tonight's games. We'll see you soon. Take care.